everyone. It's your girl, Gel Beauty 87 here. Did I on the T? False alarm. Okay. And today we're going to get into the worst palettes of 2020. So I have some from 2019 in here as well because I looked back on my footage for best of last year and I noticed I didn't do like any worst of. So I figured I'd put the worst palettes in here along with the ones from 2020. So you're going to have some from 2019 and then you're going to have some from 2020. But, you know, that's what's going to make it, I guess, kind of long because I got a lot of stuff sitting around me. But in all fairness, it's from 2 years. It's not like it's just from 1 year and like I've had a horrible year of like a million terrible palettes. Now, there are some that I recently tried this year that I was just not impressed with. There's one brand just in general I'm never impressed with, but I feel like y'all will know what brand that is because I talk about it a lot. Well, I don't talk about it a lot, but I talk about it enough for I feel like you to know that, you know, it ain't it for me. So I'm gonna just start off with that one and then go into the rest. Now, if you like any of these brands and you like these palettes, sis, I'm not telling you shouldn't. I'm gonna just explain to you why they not it for me. If you're curious what's on my eyes, I have on a YSL quad I bought like a while ago that I never actually tried out. That I finally tried out today, and I used some of the shades in the pumpkin spice palette from Elf, the little $3 one or whatever. What's on my face is a Charlotte Tilbury foundation, and then on my lips I have Pat McGrath's She's So Deep lipstick, and then I put on the crystal gloss from Maybelline on top of it. That's what all this is going on here. I'm gonna start off and just I've pretty much just given up on this brand like Profusion. I just as a whole brand, I don't want to be bothered. I was gonna give them a chance with the foundation, but then I saw it on Andrea and then it looked quite like orangish, and I was just like, yeah, no, I can't get down with the vibes. I tried. Y'all know I did a review on this comparing it to the what is it, the Colourpop ones, and I like the Colourpop ones better. This is the only palette from them that I can halfway tolerate, but it's still not up to par with all the other stuff that's in my collection. And having a collection extensive as mine is, it's like it makes no sense. I keep trying to do reviews for you all though, just because it's like I know other people really like the brand, and Karen Harris is always raving about the brand. I love Karen, but I just can't get down with the Profusion. Karen, I'm sorry. I still love you though, but this just ain't it. Like, whenever I build it up, when you have to like blend it out, it just blends away to nothing. This one did work better than this one. I tried to do a video with both of these combined as a palette mashup to just try to see if I could use the shimmers in here since this is all matte, and nothing worked. Like, all of them are just terrible. The only one other than the blue one I had halfway decent luck with was the Gold Rush one, but as a whole I just don't like the brand, so I'm gonna just stop trying to buy that stuff, because just because it was $5 and it's cheap does not mean it's good, and I don't like it. Then I'm gonna just stop trying, so don't look for it anymore. I said I would try the foundation, but at this point, after seeing it on Drea, I just don't want to be bothered. So next one I have is the Summer in Central Pay by BH Cosmetics. Now, mind you, all these palettes, the quality isn't necessarily bad. Some of them I don't like the color stories of. Like, y'all saw my video saying how I was uninspired by certain palettes, and this is a palette I'm uninspired by, which is why it's one of the worst palettes to me, because it's like, if I'm not inspired by it, what is this purpose in my collection? What was the point of me spending money on it? This does do anything to inspire me. To me, it kind of reminds me of the Riviera Palette by ABH. See, it kind of gives me Riviera vibes, if you will. But let me know what y'all think. Should we do a main chick, side chick with these two? Because I feel like they're giving me similar color stories. Oh, and spoiler alert, the ABH Riviera palette is in here. So that's why it was so conveniently located for us to pick up and compare. But yeah, I don't like the color story of this palette. It has nothing to do with the formula of the palette. It's just, I think it's a shitty color story. Like, I'm not inspired by this in any way. And I could have saved my $8. And yes, I did get it for 50% off. And I'm still saying it's worse just because the color story to me just makes no sense. At least with the ABH one, I feel like I can group certain colors together and make a look. With this one, I don't feel inspired to do that at all. It's just like a whole bunch of scattered colors that, you know, don't give me any type of creative ideas whatsoever. So that's why it is a fail. Now, I hate to put this in here because this was one of my favorite shows as a kid, but the Sailor Moon and Colourpop collection. I feel like you know why this palette is in here, because what am I always bitching about? And what is there damn near a whole row of that I can't use? And then the rest of the things are these sequin shades that nobody really likes. So it's like, who is this palette geared toward? Because this whole row is unusable to me. And then you put this annoying ass plus glitter in here. So it's like 4 things in here that I'm not going to use. And then all these sequin shades at the bottom, which again are things I'm not going to use. So I literally bought this for the collector in me and to just try out. The only shade I liked in here was the purples. But it's like those are 2 shades out of an entire palette. So that's why it sucks to me. And that's why it's one of the worst releases I tried from Colourpop this year. Believe it or not, I feel like Colourpop's formula has been going up and down recently. Starting in 2019 and just getting worse in 2020. I don't know if it's because of COVID or what's going on, but I feel like their formula is just like wishy-washy from palette to palette lately, and I'm not feeling it. So I've actually calmed down on buying some of their palettes. Like when they do the little Disney releases or limited edition things I just want for my collection, I'll buy. Like I have the Child right here, and I'm actually going to be doing a review with this later on today, but I'm just not inspired to use their stuff as much as I used to be because it's just not as good quality as it used to be. But that's a different video for a different day. The next palette I have is the Misunderstood palette, the Villains Misunderstood palette. Now I like the color story in this. However, there's not enough mattes in here for you to do too much with. And then like, I don't like necessarily all the tones of shimmers they chose. Like I'm not gonna use this white shade. I don't really like this black because it's like more of a gray tone black. It's not like a true black, so it's not gonna do too much for me. The only shade I really reach for when it comes to this palette is navy, and I have like the Melt Blueprint stack, so it's like, again, this is just more of a collector's piece for me. This isn't something I would really reach for. When I did do a look, I think I used this color, and like maybe one of these silvers to put on the lid. And I recently did a palette mashup with this, but I think used like 2 shades in here, like the shimmers, and that was it. I didn't use anything else because this just isn't an inspiring palette for me. Again, this was in my makeup I'm uninspired by, if I remember correctly, and I said the same thing I'm saying now. So for that reason, to me, it's a worse palette because it's not necessarily usable for me. Not to mention, like I said, I feel like it's too shimmer heavy for what it is, so it can just go somewhere. Okay, so next one I have, now I don't like cream to powder formulas, and I didn't realize that this was that, so this is partially my fault, but at the same time, I love the color story of the palette, so that's why I ended up picking it up. But this is the Artemis palette from Alter Ego. Now, I don't like cream to shimmer, cream to powder mattes, so that's mainly why I don't like this palette. Not to mention, a lot of the colors in here, like, they don't look true to what color they are in the pan when you put them on your eye. Like, I feel like this one doesn't do that, and then this one doesn't do that, and then this one doesn't do that either. So all of the darker ones I feel like aren't the true tone that they are in the pan, which is another reason I don't like this palette, which is why it's the worst palette to me. Because although it has the same nice color story that Natasha has, it's like I don't like the formula, and then like the colors don't ring true to what they are in the pan. It's like I want the color that I'm seeing, not another color. So that's why this is the worst palette for me, because if it's not ringing true to the colors in the pan, then what was the purpose of you making it that color? And, you know, getting my hopes up that that's the color I'm going to be able to use. So this was a fail for me. Matter of fact, Alter Ego itself is just a fail to me, to be perfectly honest. I don't think I've liked any palette I tried from them other than the Aura palette that they made from the Sunrise palette. And of course, those are warm tones. So we know I'm not realistically going to be using that palette because I don't like warm tones. I like cool tones. So the brand for me, along with Profusion just as a whole, is a fail to me so far. But like, maybe they'll come out with something better next year, or maybe Bad Habit Skin will, you know, like do something to excite me and make me be excited about their partner, their parent company again. Because it's like, I'm hoping with the Bad Habit Skin though that they're just duping all like the Tasha products. Because I feel like Tasha's out here killing the game, and it's like they had and I need an alternative. Anyway, the next palette I have is the Walhalla Palette from Beautydealsbff. Now, the thing that makes me hate this palette, first of all, is if we told Colourpop we didn't want all the damn pressed glitters, why the hell would you come behind them and be like, oh no, it's cool, I'm Beautydealsbff, I can do that. No, we don't want fucking pressed glitters from anyone. Not you, not Colourpop, not anybody else. Stop putting pressed glitters in palettes. You care beauty, Colourpop, all y'all sit down with these pressed glitters. We don't want to know. What do you not understand? Sign management, thank you. But yeah, so I don't like the color story of this palette. You think I would, because there's like a blue row, and then there's this somewhat colorful row, and then there's a purple row, and so there are rows of colors that you would think I would like, but I think what really turns me off about this palette is the pressed glitters. Like, that's really what makes me hate this palette, is the pressed glitters. I hardly have ever reached for this palette too, just because I don't really like the color story, or maybe it's just like the background colors on it. But yeah, to me this palette is terrible. I don't like it. There's only one thing I do like in here, that shade Power, and then they have a shade that's really similar to it in the new one that they just came out with called Money. So it's like, this palette really serves no purpose to me now other than this blue, and we know I'm a sucker for a blue eyeshadow, so I'm quite sure I have quite more blues in my collection that would meet this. So this palette to me is just bad. Like, if they had came up with Hollow 2 first, I would have definitely bought that and just skipped this completely. So yeah, I don't like it. It sucks. The next one I have is the Ace Beauty Slice of Paradise palette. Now I know I did a video comparing this to Natasha Denona's Tropic palette because of this row down here. But I love the tones of this palette. I just hate the formula of it. Like, the formula of this is absolutely terrible. And what I hate about this brand is they keep changing and saying a new improved formula every time they make a palette. So that's why I just stopped buying them. Because after I bought the Flare palette and then it was the same formula as this, in my personal opinion, I was just like, I'm not going to keep buying palettes from y'all. Because y'all just keep doing the same thing over and over again, saying it's new and then it's not new. And then the color stories are nice, but it's like, if I don't like the formula, that means I don't want to play with it. So, and I don't want to just sit at it and look at it sitting in a drawer when I have many other palettes in a drawer that I would prefer to use. So I'm just off Ace Beauty for a while. Until I actually see a formula change that I actually like, I'm not going to keep buying from you. And I mean, I don't care if they are black owned brand. It's like, I don't mind buying from black owned brands. I love buying from black owned brands, but at the same time, it's like, you need to give me something I actually want. I don't want to just be buying it because you're a black owned brand and I'm black. Like, no, that's not going to cut it. Because there's plenty of other black owned brands that, you know, make stuff I actually like the quality of, and I'm not just buying it because they're black owned. Okay, so next we're gonna get into the Dose of Color Snow Angels palette. So I like the color story of this a lot, but the blues in here were very difficult to work with. Like, this navy blue is really difficult to work with. And I've heard other people saying they don't like this palette that much either, because it has a gorgeous color story, but it's like, you know, the blues in here really let me down. And it's like, I already have tones like this. Like, I feel like this tone is similar to the tone that's in the Blushing Berries palette. Now, I know they don't have a blue tone palette yet. I don't know why, because it's like, whenever people put pops of blue in palette, people usually just run to it. So why they haven't made a whole, like, monochromatic blue palette? Probably because they didn't get the blues in this well, so that's why they didn't want a chance to have a whole palette of blues. I don't know, but I love the color story of this. I just don't think the formula of this is up to par with the palettes they normally have. Like, I love my Marvelous Mauves, and I love my Pretty Cool palette, but this one, the formula is a letdown. Now, I don't know about the new ones, the Cutting Edge and what is it, the Soleil or whatever. You'll have to check out Karen Harris's video about those two, because I think she bought both of them because I believe she said she was trying to get free shipping or something like that. So she just ended up buying both palettes, and she wasn't that impressed with the green palette from what I remember, and Karen loves greens just like I do, so clearly. So the fact that she wasn't impressed with it just made me not buy it, because I was just like, oh, okay. Now, I've never tried their similar, I was about to say I had never tried the shimmer form, but I'd be lying, because I have that single blue one, and then I have a moment in the Desi and Katie palette. So I just wasn't compelled to try those. I'm like, if I get it on a good discount, then I'll try it, but I'm not just gonna go out my way to buy it, because after that palette, I kind of just like fell back. Other than buying the Pretty Cool because it was in the classic packaging and I knew it was going to work. Or did Pretty Cool come before that one? I honestly don't remember, so don't quote me. The next palette I have is the Dominique Cosmetics Sweater Weather palette. Now, I like the color story of this okay, but I mean, realistically, it's like I can only use half the palette. This shade barely showed up. It took forever for me to blend it out. This one, I can dust over this one. Like, this one, I'm never using because I would dust this one over these two. So this palette is cute, but it's like I only like 2 shades in it, these two right here. And it's like, again, if I love blues, greens, and purples, obviously I have these 2 shades before. So it's nothing wrong with the formula. It's just more of, because I feel like there's so many shades in here I'm not going to use, it's not worth keeping just for 2 shadows. So that's why it's worse to me, because it's like, it's not necessarily women of color friendly, because there's only 2 deeper shades that most likely I could use, and the rest I'm just out here looking crazy. I mean, I like the purple lipstick that came with it, but again, that doesn't substantiate me holding on to that or trying to keep it in my collection, because it's just not it. And then last Dominique Cosmetics palette I have, and I always feel bad when I have to put palettes in here, but it's like, if I'm not vibing with the color story, if I don't like the you know, the formula or whatever, then, you know, I need to be honest. And it's nothing to do with the formula of this Rustic Glam palette. It's the color story. It's just so weird. Like, to me, this is a really weird color story. Like, I was like Mel Thompson. I bought it because I like this shade and this shade, and of course the shade Evil Eye. And I did some looks with it. It's just, it's not a super exciting palette to me. Like, I think I did a blue and pink look, and then I did pink and this color, and then I tried to do these 2, which didn't turn out that well, and then I think I did a more neutral color. So I see where the color story is going. It's just, I don't know, it's just not one I'm gonna gravitate to or use a lot. So that's why it's in worse for me, because it's like the color story just isn't cohesive enough for me to want to try to put a look together. And I see even in the little quads where she tried to, like, you know, just use this and this to make an eye look, or just use this and this, or you can do like all 4 of these to make a nice little eye look and put the pop of blue on the lower lash line, or use all 4 of these and do like an orangey, like the Color Rain Safari palette, try to put these together and make it look. So it's like I get where she's coming from with the way she put them in there, but it's like I still don't want to reach for it or grab for it, or don't like the way that necessarily looks. So that's why it's in here. That's it. So I told y'all some of them is just like I don't like the color story that they chose, or some of them like I don't like the formula, or some of them like I've just tried and I've just gotten to the point where it's like I'm giving up on this brand. I'm not going to keep trying because I don't like what they're offering. So we're going to finally get to the Riviera Palette by Aviation. Now I was excited for them to come out with color, but once they came out with the Norvina ones, I was just looking like, this is not it. And this wasn't it when it first came out. I mean, I tried to like it, but I only think of like maybe 2 eye looks to do when I look at this palette. Like I always want to use the pink, the blue, the purple, and this blue right here, or I want to use like this yellow and this purple right here. But that's pretty much it. Like otherwise, when I look at this palette, I don't think of anything else to do. Like maybe put this pink with this pink, but it's just not like an exciting thing where I'm just like, yes, I have to use this palette a lot. Like I think I've used it maybe like 3 or 4 times, and that's when I had like forced myself to use it like a couple of times. I just did a throwback, even though it's not Thursday, with this, just to, you know, try to I guess change my mind about the palette. But it's like I just can't. I just don't like that palette. So it's one of the worst palettes I tried in 2019, not 2020. But next I have the Aviation Cauli palette, which again came out in 2019. I was very, very disappointed with this palette because I feel like her BH Cosmetics palettes were better quality than this. Like, I love the top row of this palette, but y'all know I'm not a warm tone person, so I don't really care about the bottom row. And like the top row, of course, is the one that disappointed me the most. Like I felt like the shimmers didn't like do that much for me, and then the mattes in here didn't work that well with my skin tone. Like maybe this one and this one I would have to build up in the crease quite a bit to get. I mean, the red would look nice along with these two, but it's like I'm not a warm tone girl, so how much often am I going to use those? I literally bought it for the top row and because I love Cauli Bible, but I was totally disappointed with this. And then I don't necessarily like the packaging of it either, with these weird like bubbles all over it. It just makes me think of that Huda Beauty slippery shade, like all these balls on it, and it's just so annoying. So like this was a disappointment to me. I feel like they should have let Cauli come out first and then Jackie come out after that, because it's like Jackie's palette definitely outshined Cauli's, and I feel bad for her because it's like Jackie's came out, then hers came out, and it was like, oh, so we went from like up here to like down here, and it wasn't a good look. But you know, that's how they had it set up, so she just had to go ahead with it, I guess. The next one I have, you all haven't seen the video on it yet, but spoiler alert, I think it sucks, clearly, or else it wouldn't be in this worst video. So I have the Aether Beauty, what is this, Crystal Amethyst something. Oh, Amethyst Crystal Gemstone palette. So let me open it up so you can see what it looked like. I had wanted to try this brand for a while because I saw Tara Baby talking about how she really liked it, but they're supposed to be like a clean beauty brand, so it has this weird little rubber band on there, so like they don't have to put magnets in it, let it close. And then they tell you why they don't have a mirror in here, because it's supposed to help the environment and all that. But I don't know what it was. I feel like there aren't enough mattes in this palette, and then the shimmers don't have like any type of sparkle or shim to them. They're more like a satiny type sheen. And with the colors that they picked in this palette, I just wasn't impressed. So I don't plan on trying the brand again. I wanted to try the Joshua Tree palette, but after having tried the formula on this one, I'm like, I don't even want to be bothered with that one. Like, I got impressed with this, and now I see why nobody really talks about this brand, because it's like I'm not impressed with any of what I tried from them. I had plenty of purples in my collection, and this one does not even come close to quality that I am used to when it comes to a purple palette. And neither does this purple palette that we're about to talk about, which is the Natasha Denona Lila palette. Now, there's nothing wrong with the formula of this palette, Lila, whichever way you like to call it. It's the tones in here that's a problem for me, because look, there aren't that many mattes in here, and then a lot of them don't work for people with my skin tone. Like this one right here isn't really gonna work. This one right here might work just a little bit, but you'll have to build it up a lot. This one you don't have to build up as much. This one is kind of light to me in my personal opinion. And you got to think, there's only like 5 mattes in here. There's all these shimmers, but a lot of these mattes don't work for people with my skin tone, which is why I didn't buy originally in the first place. When I saw it, I was like, where's the rest of the mattes? They're supposed to work for people with my skin tone, because they're lost in translation. I don't know if they lost their way to the palette, like what happened to them, but like A lot of these mattes don't work for me. And the shimmers are fine, but it's like I can buy Super Shock shadows from Colourpop for $5 that mimic some of these colors. Like I'm sure there's one near, not to mention the Levian Rose has this color, and I believe a color like this in it as well. And the matte in there works for my skin tone better than this whole palette does. So I got this for 50% off, and then I think I got another 20% off, which is the only reason I added it to my collection. Because, I mean, the shimmers in it are nice. This shimmer I was most excited about, though, was a letdown, because it's more of a topperish type shade. And it's like, I hate when that happens, because I feel like she does in a lot of palettes. Like, in the gold palette, there's a topperish type shade in there that I really like, but it's just a topper, so it's not very impressive to me. Yeah, so this one is just not, it just doesn't do it for me. It's just, yeah, it's okay. But that's why it's in here, because the color story just doesn't necessarily work for me because of the lack of mattes for people my skin tone. So the second to last palette, again, is another Natasha Denona palette. This palette is horrible. I feel like it's been on sale for like 2 years on the clearance rack at Sephora because it's horrible. Even on her stand say it's bad, so it's not like I'm just out here picking on her. Like, this is terrible. Like, these shades up here, like I used this chocolate brown and it faded on me so quickly. I mean, and it's darker than my skin tone, as you can see in the pan. But it faded away horribly. This red shade, Sangria, faded away terribly. And then the bottom row, which is the one I would have been reaching for it for the most, is horrible. And then I think Mel Thompson said when she came out with the mini one, it was better, but some shades were still better in this palette than they were in the mini. And I was like, I'm not buying a mini just for this row right here. So when I found the palette on sale for a good deal, I was like, I'll try it then. Again, this is like the Lila palette. I got it for 50% off, and then I got like extra 20% off, and I still don't feel it was worth what I paid for it, because a lot of the shades just fade away, and then some of the shades I can't use at all. Like, we know I can't use this. We know I can't use this. We know I can't use this. I can't use that. Can't use this. So it's like a good portion of this palette I can't even use. That's why I refuse to pay full price for it. Like, this shade doesn't hardly show up at all. This shade doesn't hardly show up at all. So it's like, a lot of this palette to me is just a total bust. And I feel like a lot of people feel like it was a bust, or else it wouldn't have been on sale for like 2 years. So I should have known from then that I shouldn't have bought it. But I was like, I just want to try it out and see, you know, for myself. Because sometimes you want to see for yourself. And it was like at a great enough bargain to where it wasn't that big a deal for me to go ahead and buy it. So the last palette I have is the Linda Hallberg Metallic Mysteries. And I feel like this was just overhyped to me. And again, like I said before, like, I love how people want to come from Mother's packaging, but nobody said how cheap this cardboard packaging was. Like, this is, y'all, it's like a paper thin cardboard packaging, but she charged like $50-something for this palette. But ain't nobody talking about that, but everybody can talk about Mother when she came out with her small palettes, and when she came out with her Ecstasy Eye Kit. People was talking about how cheap it was, but ain't nobody said nothing about this cheap ass packaging though. I find that funny. Whatever, moving on. So the only shade that's anything special to me in this palette is this one, because it's like the rest of these seem to be like more satiny shades, and this seems to be like more close to Pat McGrath's like special shades, if you will. So that's why I like this one, because it has that more like special shade effect for Pat McGrath, whereas it with these 3 shades, it's like there's just 3 satins, and it's like, to me, this palette kind of mimics the Pat McGrath what is it, Bronze Temptation, the small one she came out with. Because I'm like, this, it was shade like this, somewhat similar was in there. I know this red was in there, but it flipped to like a orangish goldish like yellow type shade. And then this green was in there, because I just did an eye look with that one yesterday that y'all saw on Instagram the day after my birthday on the 9th. So it's like, I didn't really need this palette. I just wanted to try out her formula, since I know some YouTubers that do luxury makeup like I do were talking about how nice it was. But to me, this was like a disappointment. The only thing I like in this palette is this. And this thing is like $50-something. So I paid $50-something, and, you know, the only thing I like is this, and everything else I can already get from Pat McGrath, most likely including this. So it's like, was this really worth it to me? No, it was not. I like the what is it, Metallic Mysteries 1, Enchanted Mysteries, that's the green one. I like that one way better than I like this one. So if I had to choose between them, I would definitely choose that one and not this one, because this one is just like a fourth of the Pat McGrath 6-pan palette in cheap packaging. So yeah, those are my thoughts on it. Not to mention, I've talked before about how I didn't like the way the brand owner handled the Black Lives Matter movement when all other brands were pulling up for change. She took forever to say anything, and then she came out with this BS apology or whatever about why she didn't speak on it, and then she turned off her comment section. If you really feel bad about it, why did you feel the need to turn off your comment section? So that didn't sit right with me at all. So I was like, all right, you stay over there, I'm gonna stay over here. So have a great day and be blessed. So although I do like the Enchanted Mysteries, I wouldn't necessarily tell you to buy it if you my color, just because she don't care about you, sis. She only care about the green that's on my eye, that's in your wallet. She don't care about you, or else she just spoke on the matter sooner. But anyway, that completes this video of palettes. The worst palettes I tried in 2019 and 2020, since I forgot to do it in 2019. But anyway, I hope you all enjoyed this video. Remember, you all are diamonds. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Bye.